UFC Fight Night, Johnny Walker versus Jamahal Hill. Welcome to the prelim card prediction video for this UFC Vegas 48 event. We are Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by Zan, I go by Harris. And as usual, we're giving you fight-by-fight breakdowns, fight-by-fight analysis from that betting perspective. Here to let you know which fights are worth the value, which fights you want to avoid, which underdog has the best shot at winning, and some parlay action towards the end. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. And we want to hear from you in the comments. For this card, we have 12 fights total. 7 of them are on the prelim card. Getting right to work right away. We're going to go based on the ESPN order as it currently shows. Could be a slight change to order come fight day. But come for now, we have fight number 1, Mario Bautista taking on Jay Perrin. Now, this is a fill-in. Jay Perrin is taking a short notice fight. He was supposed to fight, Mario Bautista was supposed to fight Khalid Taha up until Taha withdrew. So that is interesting to note right away. For Jay Perrin, he's making his UFC debut. On top of it being a short notice, looks like he has decent hands, stays low in the stance. He puts forward pressure. Looks like he can handle his own when it comes to the ground with grappling. Look at 4 of his 10 pro wins. They've come via submission. So he at least knows what he's doing down there. Interesting to note they all have been via guillotine or rear naked choke, but it does look like he has a little bit of ground knowledge for himself. For Mario Bautista, he lost to Trevin Jones in March. Good in the stand-up, good boxing, switch stance, good movement, good fakes and feints, good distance control. Fights from the center of the octagon more times than not from what I've seen from him. Pretty intelligent striker, pretty diverse striker as well. I think he picks shots well. I think he has good combinations when needed. I feel like you can just really trust him on the feet. And the takedown defense looked pretty decent in that Trevin Jones fight. Overall, in 4 UFC fights, he has a 70% takedown defense. So it's at least somewhat reliable, I'd say. But overall, I feel in this fight, Mario Bautista, cleaner striker here, better striker. I feel like he can use Jay Perrin's forward pressure that I anticipate in this fight to his advantage, looking for clean counterpunching opportunities. Of course, it's also a debut for Perrin, and on top of that, it's a short notice for Perrin. So the sort of odds are working against him here. I don't know what the official odds are on this. I do expect Bautista to be the favorite, but if I'm just making a pick for the channel, I'm going Mario Bautista.
Yeah, I do a quick watch on these guys. Jay Perrin, I know he just stepped in. I know they had a different fighter set up with Bautista, so this was a quick fill in here. What I got from him, he's a decent fighter. He can stand. He's well rounded. He can grapple. So in this fight, he's gonna have to take this to the mat, is what I think. Bautista, rangy striker, good movement, really good striking. And he's going to have a good advantage, a big advantage in the striking. And I think he can cause problems there. Jay Perrin needs to get this to the mat. He needs to wrestle. Can he do it for 3 rounds? I'm not sure. So that's why I have to go with Bautista here. He doesn't have the best takedown defense, but he does have good submissions off his back. He should be working to get back to his feet. But I think as the fight goes on, takedowns will be much harder. And I see Mario Bautista, his striking, winning the fight here for him. So I'm going to go Mario Bautista to get the win.
Second fight, we have Jonathan Pearce taking on Christian Rodriguez. For Jonathan Pearce, he's on a 2-fight win streak. He beat Omar Morales back in September. Pretty bouncy in the stand-up. He fights pretty tall. He is a tall fighter for the featherweight division. And he'll use that reach that he has. Doesn't have the reach advantage, but of course, being a taller fighter, he can sort of reach further than his opponent. He'll use front kicks, he'll use push kicks, things like that if he is facing pressure. So he's going to look to fight from range. Decent boxing, he's definitely willing to engage. Solid wrestling as well. He can land the takedown. He has good entries, a sort of relentless wrestling in his approach. And he showed me that he can be a pressure fighter when needed. Previous fights, I should say, I have seen him fight quite a bit off of the back foot. So I wonder which version of Jonathan Pearce we're going to get come Saturday. Regular jab usage, and I mean, his striking looks like it is improving. So for somebody who is maybe a wrestler first, looks like his striking is coming to its own. For Christian Rodriguez, He's a newcomer, undefeated, 7-0. Just competed a month ago, so got to assume he's in shape. Also competed in the Dana White Contender Series back in October. Young fighter, just 24 years old. It's not always a good thing in the UFC, though. Sometimes it's too early for you at that point. Good hands, though. Definitely willing to stand in front of you and exchange shots. Good, consistent pressure. He has primarily hands on the feet, though. Don't really see much from the kick department, but he does have a well-timed knee, and he has that ability to time counters. The takedown defense looks good as well, and I think that'll be very important in this fight. I think despite it being a little bit hard to predict for Rodriguez, it's hard to really find footage out there, of him taking on an opponent that would otherwise have a heavy wrestling approach, or that wrestling first approach. Jonathan Pearce, of course, may take that. So I'd be curious to see how Christian Rodriguez handles it. From what I've seen, like I said, it looks like he can defend it. But that said, Pearce has an accuracy of, almost 60% at this point, of course, with some inflated takedown numbers. Rodriguez is better on the feet here. Hands are more dangerous. I think his boxing is cleaner. And although the reach is the same, as I mentioned, the 5-inch height advantage for Pearce will be interesting to see how he uses that. Ultimately, I'm going to go with Jonathan Pearce. I think he's shown me that he can handle a good striker. When I think about that Omar Morales fight, while still implementing his game plan. Although Rodriguez will stuff some takedowns, I anticipate, I don't think he'll stuff all of them. And I think that will allow Jonathan Pearce to do enough on the ground to win 2 out of those 3 rounds. So I'm going Jonathan Pearce on this one. I can't say it's too confident. I can say that minus 340 is way too steep, but nonetheless, in making a pick, I'm going Jonathan Pearce.
Yeah, this is a good fight here. Jonathan Pearce has been looking really good in his fights here. Omar Morales, Kai Kamaka. These are similar fighters to Christian Rodriguez, where they had the advantage striking, but obviously Jonathan Pearce was able to get it to his area. And this guy's cardio, he has cardio for days. This guy can definitely keep it going. And plus, it looks like Christian Rodriguez is moving up in weight, or if he's not, he's very new to this weight class. He's usually at the 135-pound division, and that could mean that Jonathan Pearce is just going to have a big strength advantage, and that kind of feeds into where he's good at, the grappling. So I want to go Jonathan Pearce here. I think he should get it done, but I'm going to go with the underdog here. I'm going to go with Christian Rodriguez. He's a young guy. It's going to be really tough for him to keep it on the feet here. But I think if he keeps it on the feet, he has a clear path to victory. I think Jonathan Pearce should get it done, but I think at these odds, I think Christian Rodriguez could be a good prospect in the UFC. He has that entertaining style. He likes to keep it on the feet. He fought in his Contender Series fight, so he hasn't really fought much. He hasn't fought many guys. He's new. He's only 24. But he fought Junior Cortez, and that's the Tracy Cortez's brother. And that's a wrestling family. They had another brother. I think his name was Junior Cortez. No, there's another brother, not Junior Cortez. There's another brother that passed away, but he was a heavy wrestler as well. He was the better wrestler, and he used to train with the Cejudo brothers from wherever they lived. They used to train. So he fought Junior Cortez, who was a wrestler, who was supposed to go in there and get him to the mat. Odds were really close. He was nowhere near a takedown. Rodriguez seemed pretty content, or pretty good at getting the underhooks. I think after that much time off here, he's going to look much better at 24. You got to think he's going to improve there. Again, this is a tough fight because I think Jonathan Pearce should get it done. But I think this is a card that has a lot of favorites, but I think this is an underdog here that could pull this off here. So I'm going to go with the underdog, Christian Rodriguez, to get the win here.
Third fight on the card, we have Chad Anheliger versus Jesse Strader. For Jesse Strader, he lost his debut to Montel Jackson. That was almost a year ago, March 2021. Uses a lot of calf kicks, sets it up with a lot of fakes and feints. The movement is decent. The jab is decent as well. Pretty sharp in his strikes from what I've seen. Explosive. He can set up the combinations that lead to that knockout punch. 4 of his 5 professional wins are via KO TKO. So definitely have to respect that power. However, might be a little bit chinny. His 2 professional losses, as well as his 1 amateur loss, were all via KO TKO. So his chin might be an issue, something to take note of. Taking on Chad Anheliger, again, he's making his UFC debut, and he's coming in on a 9-fight win streak. He competed on Dana White Contender Series back in September. Looks pretty comfortable on the feet, a lot of movement, decent jab, quick hands, really good in and out movement. The pace and the activity could be better though, and that concerns me a little bit. This is a tough fight, a low-level fight, respectively, a coin flip in a lot of ways. But from the footage that I've seen, I want to lean in the direction of Jesse Strader, more intentional with the striking. I feel he just does maybe a little bit more on the feet as well. But again, from a betting perspective, I would completely avoid this one. But again, in making a pick, I'm going with Jesse Strader.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, man. This is a tough fight because we have the favorite. It's his first fight in the UFC coming off the Contender Series. Jesse Strader had a fight in the UFC, but he didn't look good. He looked pretty scared in there. But again, yeah, he had a tough fight against Montel Jackson. He was pretty much beaten everywhere. But he took the fight. So this guy definitely has heart. He definitely wants to be in there. But when I look at his record, though, he has a win in the first round, second round. He has the unanimous decision here, but a lot of first and second round wins. And that's how I think this fight's going to go. I think that Strader is going to have to get this done in the first round. Because what the thing about Chad Anheliger is this guy gets better as the fight goes on. In his last 3 fights, let's look at the Contender Series fight versus Ewan Gafarov. He fought a beast and he was able to get a win there, split decision, but he was able to get it done. And the important thing is that he came out in the 3rd round, got that round. He won that round clearly. Against Brady Heastand, he got a win in the 3rd round. Craig McLean got a win in the 3rd round. So Jesse Strader hasn't been to the 3rd round. And this is where Chad kind of turns it up on these guys. He has really good cardio. So you kind of see where I'm going here. In this fight, I'm gonna go with Chad Anheliger. I just think that in terms of the fight, the skills, he might be better everywhere. It's arguable. He might be better everywhere. But the thing I like about him is he's decent everywhere. And as the fight goes on, he's going to get stronger. That cardio is going to show. So I'm going to go Chad to get the win here.
All right, fight number 4, we have Diana Belbiţă taking on Gloria de Paula, 2 somewhat similar fighters in terms of their strengths. Diana Belbiţă, she beat Hannah Goldie via unanimous decision. That was back in July. Finally got her first win in the UFC with that. Romanian fighter, so she's definitely going to have that Eastern European toughness to her. She's introduced in the ring as a striker, and that's exactly what she is. Heavy-handed. She puts her combinations together well with her Muay Thai stance. Likes to come forward. She's definitely a pressure fighter, bit of a brawler though. Pushes a high pace, especially early in the fight. Decent Thai clinch. Looks like she can take you down as well. And some things that I don't like about her game, doesn't really have the best takedown defense. Her cardio is questionable. Hence, as I mentioned, pushes a high pace early in the fight. And I mean, she really only has one gear, one style, one game plan. Doesn't really look like she has that ability to switch it up. For Gloria de Paula, she's on a 2-fight losing streak. She lost to Cheyenne Vlismas back in July as well. She's 0-2 in the UFC. So 2 fighters with not the best record in the UFC. She has sharp striking. She has that Muay Thai style as well. Good Thai clinch. Good hands. What concerns me is how easy it is to take her down. What concerns me as well is that she doesn't really put the shots together. They kind of come one at a time. This is a 50-50 fight in a lot of ways. I think it's close to a pick'em in the betting lines in Vegas as well. As I mentioned, 2 fighters with very similar skill sets, but I think the difference here is that Belbiţă is probably the cleaner striker of the 2. De Paula might have the better boxing, but I think Belbiţă has the better MMA striking, especially with her kicks. especially with her combinations as well. And I think her forward pressure is going to be a little bit more effective than how Gloria de Paula is moving in there. So I am expecting this fight to stay on the feet. I am expecting a striker's battle, and due to cleaner striking as well as more diverse striking, I'm going with Diana Belbiţă.
Yeah, this is going to be a good fight here. Obviously, Gloria de Paula has issues with fighters that are better grapplers than her. Same with Diana Belbiţă. These fighters want to keep it on the feet. But I know Gloria de Paula does have jiu-jitsu. So I think she has a clear path, an easier path if she was to utilize that jiu-jitsu, get this fight to the mat, where Belbiţă has looked very uncomfortable. So I think this is a fight that Gloria could win. But the thing is, I don't see her going for these takedowns. I don't see her consistently getting this to the mat. I see this being a stand-up fight, and I think Diana is slightly the better striker. She has a bit more bad intentions with her strikes. She whips those leg kicks, and I think those leg kicks will be could be a big thing in this fight here. She has really, really good leg kicks that will add up here. So if they have to go, if they're going to be striking here, I like Belbiţă in that situation. But I think the Paula, if she gets her to the mat, I think that's a wash. I think the round's over. I think Belbiţă's horrible on the mat, and that if Gloria gets her there, she can see that she can win an easy fight. But Gloria doesn't have the best wrestling, but she does have the submissions. She does have the jiu-jitsu. So I'm going to go Diana Belbiţă because I think this is going to stay on the feet, and I just think that being the taller fighter as well, with the leg kicks, with the range, with the movement, I think should be able to win a decision here.
All right, let's move on to the fifth fight. We have Skelly taking on Mark Striegl. For Skelly, almost 2.5 years since he last competed. You got to go all the way back to September 2019. Beat Jordan Griffin at that time. He's a wrestler first, very demanding wrestling, chain wrestling. He'll look for takedowns in very different ways. Good body lock, throws enough punches and ground and pound to never really risk the ref standing the fight back up. So good activity if he is on top. And he has those rear naked chokehold attempts as well. Very active on the ground just overall. We see there 2.5 submissions attempted per fight. We see there as well almost 2 takedowns landed per fight. Serviceable stand-up. He has a diverse range of strikes. Very hittable though. No real head movement. He will start to brawl if you catch him with a few. And it's very possible to outstrike him. And he fades as the fight goes on. He still has that ability to wrestle, but he slows down a lot on the feet in an area where you can already outclass him. He gets even worse as the fight goes on. If I'm looking at Mark Striegl, he lost to Said Nurmagomedov back in October 2020. So that's almost 1.5 years since his last fight. He's a southpaw. He'll take control of the center of the octagon. He'll put that pressure on at times on his opponents. Decent kicks, decent jab. The striking is solid from what I've seen. He has wrestling himself. I've seen good takedowns from him. I've also seen the ability to keep his opponents on the ground, stopping them from getting back up. He has shown me that he is a bit chinny. It is usually due to his own aggression coming forward. In addition to the Said Nurmagomedov KO loss in his debut, I've seen him wobbled before in the past as well, again, due to his aggression. But this is a very tough fight to call here. In some ways, it's wrestler versus wrestler. I'd say Striegl has the better striking, though, so that's very important to note. It's hard to say who the better wrestler is, but I do really like, just from what I've seen, just with the eye test, I like Skelly's ability to stay on top. And I think the key is that, he may be the better grappler between the two. And I think because of that grappling advantage, he will win the wrestling exchanges. He's also the taller fighter. I really have to see what they look like come weigh-in, because I feel like he will look like the bigger fighter in there, might potentially be the physically stronger fighter of the two. So close one, tough one, hard to be confident in either direction. I can definitely say -200 is too steep. But again, I think there's some advantage that Skelly will have on the ground for two fighters who are ground first type of fighters. So I'm going Skelly to narrow it out in a close one?
Yeah, this is a hard fight because I was actually leaning towards Mark Striegl, and then I looked into it a bit more. And Mark Striegl, I think when he faces a good grappler, because he hasn't really fought in the best competition, if you really look at it. And I think if he fights a good grappler that is looking to finish the fight, as the fight goes on, I can see Striegl in a compromised position here. And Skelly goes for submissions. He has really good submissions here. Striegl as well. I'm not sold on his cardio. He's in the 135-pound division, I believe. So he's going up in weight here as well. So he's going to be physically strong, like physically in shape, like an athlete. However, Skelly should have the bigger frame here. It's close. It's close. You can go either way here. I'm not going to place a bet on this fight. This was really hard for me to decide here, even though they have Skelly as a -200. I think this is a close fight, and I think those odds are not worth it. I think Striegl has a chance here because Skelly has been out of action since 2019 or whatever you said there. So this is tough. I'm gonna go Chad Skelly though, because I believe he's fought the better guys, and I think as the fight goes on, I think at some point he's gonna get that top position or get the back and get a submission. So I'm gonna go Chad Skelly here to get a win. But again, as far as betting, I'm staying far away from this one.
Fight number 6, Jessica Rose Clark versus Stephanie Egger. We see Jessica Rose Clark at -190. We see Stephanie Egger coming in at +160. For Jessica Rose Clark, she's on a 2-fight win streak. She beat Jocelyn Edwards back in October. Solid overall fighter. I like her style against a lot of women fighters. Pretty reliable in her approach. Reliable stand-up, solid boxing. She cuts the ring off well. Good striking accuracy, good striking technique. She uses good fakes and slips to time her opponent, and it has that diversity in her stand-up. Good kicks as well, so not one-dimensional there. Also, her wrestling is good. 1.7 takedowns per fight, as we can see. It's something that I've seen her resort to a little bit more often in her recent fights. Specifically that body lock trip combination. Solid takedown defense as well, sitting at 73%. If I'm looking at Stephanie Egger, she beat Shanna Young in October. She's a judo style fighter. She looks okay in the stand-up. Pretty long striker with her 1-2s, long tie kicks or long body kicks in the stand-up as well. Definitely wants to keep it at distance. Doesn't handle pressure too well, but she will use it to her advantage with judo. I've seen her land takedowns in somewhat compromised positions, and she is pretty solid on the ground. Good clinch, good judo takedown, as I mentioned. She's a judo black belt, so she's going to use those advantages in there to land takedowns from a different angle than what a lot of fighters are used to. But keeping the prediction short, I feel Jessica Rose Clark is probably better all around here for me. I feel she's better on the feet. I feel she is the better wrestler. And I feel like her takedown defense should allow her to be at least knowledgeable of Stephanie Egger's sort of judo attempts with her takedown game. So I do see her stuffing most of them. I see her being better on the feet, and I see her having better wrestling in her own right. So I'm going Jessica Rose Clark. I think, again, a very reliable style versus a Stephanie Egger type of fighter. And I think she will get it done.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I'm going Jessica Rose Clark as well. We know Egger has that judo background. However, she hasn't been looking good. She doesn't look good on the feet. And in this fight, I can see Jessica Rose Clark implementing her wrestling and over and over, and she can do that for 3 rounds. So, and also if it stays on the feet, I think Jessica Rose Clark is going to be the better striker as well. So I think this is a pretty safe pick here. I like this spot here for Jessica Rose Clark, but again, she has 6 losses, so you got to be careful here. But the experience, the skill set, I think Jessica Rose definitely should get this one done.
Final fight of the prelims in that case, we have Gabriel Benítez taking on David Onama. Gabriel Benítez, he lost to Billy Quarantillo in July. He's a southpaw, good quick jab, decent lateral movement. The hands are pretty sharp. He mixes his strikes up pretty well. Back leg is a dangerous weapon for him, hard calf kicks, things like that. And he has some pop in his strikes, pop in his hands, diverse striker, makes use of these different strikes to the body as well. And again, when you show me striking to the body, it shows me that your striking IQ is typically higher. Doesn't really seem to have that extra gear though. I think that's missing in his game, especially when he's facing pressure from the opponent. He kind of just takes it on and doesn't really have the ability to kind of change the game plan or change the pace that he's fighting on. He kind of just accepts it. I can potentially see that being the case going up against David Onama. David Onama lost his debut to Mason Jones in October, but he looked really good in that fight. He stepped up in weight in that fight. We know Mason Jones is a pretty a pretty known prospect at this point in the UFC, and David Onama gave him a really good fight. So that made me like a lot of things about David Onama's game. He showed me really good stand-up. He's a southpaw. He showed me really good striking IQ, quick, sharp striking, good jab, good 1-2s, powerful striking as well. He's an explosive fighter from what I've seen, and his power and technique is there for all 3 rounds. So I'm not concerned about his cardio. He trains with James Krause, so that will tell you at least he's knowledgeable on the ground, knowing how to scramble, knowing how to get back up. So I don't really, and plus on top of that, Benítez doesn't really land takedowns like that. So I can definitely see this one staying on the feet. And I really like Onama here. I know he still needs to prove himself in the UFC, but, he's shown me a high-level performance in his debut loss. He showed me good wrestling. He showed me a clean and powerful, explosive striking. And I think we'll see a gear from Onama that Benítez can't quite handle. So I'm looking at David Onama here. I'm really liking -155. I know there's a dice roll in terms of how proven he is, but I think skill-wise, he is there. David Onama will be my pick.
Yeah, you're on the right side, man. I'm on David Onama all day. I'm actually really high on this guy. A little backstory on this guy. Mason Jones had a different opponent, and the opponent fight fell through like always. And what's that coach's name? He's a fighter in the, that coach, man. Anyways,
Krause?
his coach, what's his name?
James Krause?
Yes, the fighter, James Krause, was there at the card, I guess maybe managing another fighter. And he said to those guys, I have a guy that can get here the next day or so, and he's going to move up in weight and he's ready. And it wasn't his weight class. So he came. And in that fight, if you ask me, I thought it's arguable. I think that was a close fight that could have went either way. And when you look at Mason Jones, he's a serious prospect. He's a legit fighter. So when you look at that fight, Onama arguably won that fight. On my scorecard, he won that fight. But obviously they gave it to Mason, but I thought damage would count more. But anyways, it goes either way. A lot of people on MMA decisions went Onama, and that was up a weight class against a fighter that could be the next thing. Mason Jones. Mason Jones is legit. I look at Benítez. He's gonna look to do those kicks. He's gonna look to move around. But I think physically he's not gonna be able to handle. I think Onama's gonna have more power. Gonna be the bigger guy in there. He's gonna be able to keep it on the feet, and I think he could get takedowns against Benítez. So I like Onama here. He might be better in every situation other than the leg kicks. And I really like him at these odds here. I think this is something we should look at as far as making a bet on.
Completely going to agree there. On that note, we're going to take it to Vegas. We're going to take a look at these prelim fights, and let's talk through a couple of things, starting with an underdog pick that you perhaps feel has the best shot at winning. For our underdog selections, we have
I got Christian Rodriguez. I'm going to roll with the real young guy.
Christian Rodriguez. Okay, so that's a +250 on that underdog. Underdog pick that I would be rolling with is Jesse Strader at +210. And in terms of parlay, what are you taking a look at?
All right, parlay pieces. I'm gonna definitely win this week. On this play is gonna win for sure. We got Jessica Rose Clark.
Yep.
We got David Onama.
Yep. So those two would be a 2.47. $100 will return $247. For our bigger bettors, $250 will return $619. And I will say we are on the exact same page here because immediately I identified these two fights as very good money, good odds, good likelihood that they win. And I think it would be beautiful to parlay these together. I actually have a couple of picks on the main card as well that I feel pretty confident about. So really a money-making opportunity for what's otherwise not the strongest card. But we are going to officially sign off on that note. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel at Boxing MMA Picks. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video. And most importantly, we want to hear from you in the comments. This has been the UFC Fight Night, Johnny Walker versus Jamahal Hill prelim card prediction video presented by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. And in our usual fashion, let's get this money.
Let's do it.